there must be an element of money laundering going on here, because much like the Acolyte, which now we're learning cost $230 million, this probably was well north of 150 million at least, because it's an effects heavy show.
Of, man.
Yeah.
And they were really bragging that all the effects and everything were all done, none of it was CGI. And then you find out, well, you just set your entire thing in a house. No wonder it wasn't CGI. Every single delusion you had was just another character turning up, so you didn't have to do anything for that either. So it just seems like we just went back to basics and made it like a Doctor Who episode.
There were certain tiny little moments that I thought, oh, I like what you did there. Like the bit where the camera pans around from the witches who are in the road in the fucking haunted forest, and then it's like the beach house with that stuff in the back. And you can see the layers of like scenery that they use to make that effect. It's a very like 1950s matinee kind of like style of doing filmmaking. But I kind of liked it. It's nice to see that again. And it's like, I can tell that's what they did. So stuff like that is kind of nice, but like it's all for nothing if the script is garbage, and that's what we're dealing with here.
That budget that you mentioned, did you mean that's for Agatha, or did you mean the Acolyte? Because you said the Acolyte.
230 is the Acolyte.
Yeah, so the Acolyte, because originally it was pegged at 180 million, right. And then we found out actually when they released their tax reports on it, it was 230 million that they spent on the Acolyte.
Yeah, I heard that. So what's the budget for Acolyte? Does Mauler know? I think he mentioned it earlier.
You mean Agatha?
Agatha, yeah.
Sorry,
I'm getting confused now. They're both of similar quality, so I'm finding it hard to tell. I'm
guesstimating. I'm assuming it was probably a bit less, just because it's not as effects heavy as a Star Wars show, but it's probably well north of 100 million at least.
Agree.
Can I pick up on that, Drinker? There's a friend of mine. I can't say too much details about this. They're a producer. They've currently done season 1 of a show. They're doing season 2 at the moment. It was supposed to shoot this year. It's a co-production between 3 big companies. I'll tell you guys who after. And it's 6 half-hour scripts, right? Season 2, 6 half-hour scripts, okay? Mm-hmm. If I had a specific brief, I could write those in 2 weeks. No problem. And, you get notes and you do rewrites, okay? They've got a writer's team on this thing, and of course you've got the main guy, and trust me, he is pulling his hair out, the guy who's behind this show, because he's being pulled all over the place. He's getting different notes from all of the 3 companies. They went into prep in April. It's now nearly the end of September. They don't have a single script of those 6 scripts ready to go.
What have they been doing all this time?
They don't have an agreed storyline, because no one can agree from the 3 different companies where it should go. I mean, at the very least, the writers' team should just be banging out different drafts anyway. Okay, well, let's do one for that idea. Let's do one for this idea. It doesn't take that long to write 30 pages. Well, if you've got the acquired skill sets and you've been writing in the industry.
Not George R.R. Martin.
No, but I mean, this team, the main guy is a great guy, and he's got a really good vision for the show. He's being pulled about all over the place. The writing team that they've got to work with, Phil, tick all the things that Disparu just mentioned. So that is an example of what's going on in a show right now, and that's the kind of problems they're having. And that's not.
I mean, the writer in me actually hates the idea of a writer's room. Like, I know it's industry standard at this point, but it's like the idea of, like, I've got an idea for how I want this story to play out, and I now have to get into a room with like 8 other people with their own ideas about the characters. They've got their own agendas they want to push. They've got their own things that they care about. And I have to work with all of them now to try and hash out some kind of semi-coherent story at the end of it. I would fucking tear my eyeballs out, like, having to deal with that, because it just sounds horrible.
I've been there.
You can't get a cohesive story with that many people involved in it. And, part of the writer's strikes last year was getting even more writers in the writer's room. Why? Too many cooks truly do spoil the broth. I don't get it. I'd rather have one person who has a really strong creative vision than like 8 idiots that are just hired there to make up the numbers.
That is a gender difference in how people prefer to work. Men are often more solo-based, whereas women are far more social. And I think the original idea would have probably come from like comedies, which generally had more writers' room and things. But there was an interview for She-Hulk, which was very insightful of how She-Hulk ended out how it did, because they basically said they talk to each other and they mine each other's lives for ideas of what to put in the show, which is why everything becomes self-insert, which is probably how Agatha ended up being made. And I think when you have writers' rooms, normally in a company structure, you'd have a hierarchy, so you have a CEO going down, everyone tells each other the boss. But like in your example, where you had 3 different groups all colliding, it's a far more flat structure. It's a far more equal structure. And so because there's nobody who can give anyone orders, you just can't agree on anything because you all have different ideas and things. I think what we are witnessing is there's literally, with both men and women coming into the workforce, you have different ideas and different natural working strategies that they use. And it's literally, some people work best in one, some people work best in the other. And I don't think they mix. And it might be better to separate them off so that certain properties made for one works for the others, whereas more of a male property would probably work best with one writer writing one thing because he knows what he does, he has the vision, and he can literally put the values into it that he wants, compared to like a more social kind of TV series based around specific people's lives and feelings and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. I guess you're right based on your life experiences to a degree, at least. So I don't know if I was going to write a fucking sitcom about like a bunch of professional women working in New York or whatever, I would probably want women to be the writer team on that. They're going to have the experience and they're going to have the right mindset for it. By the same token, if I was writing a story about a bunch of special forces guys set on a mission into Afghanistan, probably going to want guys for that, especially guys with some kind of like military experience at least, or you know, some kind of background in that they can draw from to help me formulate that. But yeah, when you try and mix all these people together who come at it from completely different directions, I think what you're going to end up with at best is going to be a heavily diluted product where it's just a bunch of different ideas colliding together that don't really mesh, and you're trying to make everyone happy. And like when you try to do that, it's going to be so watered down that I don't think you're going to get a cohesive story out of it. And I don't know.
I think that's what Rings of Power is. When you said you didn't know who the audience is, because I think it's meant to be for everybody. I think they spent so much money. They tried to literally get the widest, broadest audience they can.
Yeah.
Which misses everybody.
Yeah, I agree. That's what's happened there for sure. And landing on no one, sadly. I don't know a single person that is rooting for the show. Some people are saying, oh, yeah, it's okay. But, you know, no one's kind of contacting me saying, oh, yeah, if you've seen the
shippers are into it.
Yeah. I would have loads of sympathy for if it was done on limited resources, in which case, you know, it's the underdog. You're going to root for them a little bit. Like maybe we just had really tight budget. We couldn't afford the best writers, but like, man, we're super passionate about this project or this world. But it's the exact inverse of that. It's like you've got all the resources in the world. You've essentially got the rights to one of the biggest IPs ever, at least in the fantasy genre. But you don't really seem to care that much about it. It's more just like you see this as your little personal playground, and you get to indulge your hobbies or your fantasies within this world, and that's all it is. And so, as you say, there's no reason to root for it. I don't want this show to succeed particularly because it's gotten every advantage imaginable and still fucked up. So it doesn't deserve to succeed now.
I think everyone agrees.
Silence in the room.
I don't know how else to face it. But I think there's so much to be said for, like, I've got so much sympathy for movies that are like just low budget. Like they tried their heart out to make this, and like most of the shortcomings are just because they couldn't get very good actors or they couldn't get like the special effects shots that they needed or whatever. But man, I can tell that they tried hard with this. That's something, and you almost want them to succeed. Maybe it's just human psychology or whatever. But when you have the big dog that's got everything that they could ask for, all the advantages, and still fail because they just fundamentally don't really care that much about it, then that's when you turn against them because they don't deserve to do well.
Drinker, you saw that trailer for my buddy's film, the one he shot in lockdown for like 40 grand, 40,000.
Yeah, it looks good.
The cast, it was a thriller, a cast of 3. It's very like Blood Simple, that kind of thing. And you look at the trailer for that, and honestly, it looks like a small film, but it looks like a £2 million movie. and the guy was really inventive, and he made that money go really far, and it's done really well on the film festival circuit. I want that film to succeed, and it is a good movie. It's a good movie for what it is. You know, tight little thriller, three-hander essentially, with a couple of other roles here and there. Really well acted as well. I mean, you know, there's only one named cast member in it. Done a really amazing job. Why are Netflix not going out there, and Amazon not going out there and looking at those filmmakers? There's dozens of them, hundreds of them across the world, looking at the little films they've done for that kind of money. Why are they not finding these people and going, hey, listen, we're going to give you a budget of $2 million to make a film. Pitch us some ideas. What are you going to make us for that? We've seen what you can do with 50K. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? That's right. Matthew sent Gord King the link to watch it. Yeah. And for any YouTubers, if you want to see it, Matthew will send you a link to watch it so you can see for yourself. But why aren't they doing that?
Well, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about when we found out how much the Acolyte really cost, $230 million. And you're saying that, you know, these guys were able to produce a nice, like, tightly scripted little thriller for like 50K, like nothing, essentially. Take that $230 million that you sharted out on this nonsense show, right? And then split it 230 ways, right? So give $1 million to like a whole bunch of like producers or, you know, filmmakers or whatever. You're going to get something pretty good out of all that. If you've got 230 opportunities to hit the bullseye, something's bound to land. And you'd be way better doing that than producing something like The Acolyte or Rings of Power or Agatha All Along. You know, that's what pisses me off. Like the amount of opportunities and money that gets wasted on stuff like this that doesn't deserve it versus all these like little filmmakers or whatever that have great ideas or great passion for what they're doing. They just don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, and there's so many
a crazy
of them
system
out there. There's so many of them out there. They're always going on about how they're there to find these people. They're looking for talent, and that's all bullshit, man. Because if they were, they would be supporting those people that have already grafted for years, making films on their own with nothing but the resources from their mates and the people that they can get. You know, I shot my second feature in Greece for 40 grand, and we got all the cheese and all the petrol for free. We were eating cheese for 2 weeks, you know, and Jason Fleming paid for his own flight and came over and did us 2 days and went back again. You know, you're doing it with nothing. We got all our hotels for free thanks to the generosity of the Greek people. This is the sort of passionate kind of stuff that these people should be looking for. And I could name dozens of other people doing exactly the same thing, and they never get any kudos. They never get any support. They never get any support from any of the grants that say they're there to help exactly those kinds of people, but they don't. You know who does get the help? The people that have got a mate, or the people that are with the best agents who are already being targeted to go up because they came through the right school, or they know the right people, or they're already in touch with those producers who are going to get them a big paycheck because they're going to get a big chunk of that money as well. It's not about finding the talent. It's all about this certain level of people making as much money as they can with as little effort as possible.